Okay, we're gonna go ahead and get started. Leah and Sean, are you guys good to go?
Yeah, all good.
Yep,
Perfect.
all set.
Awesome. Okay. I am recording this and we'll be sending this afterward as well as sending over the slides. So if we're going too fast, if there's things that you want to look back at, no worries, you're going to get that after this webinar. But welcome to our attendees. We're really excited to have you here today for our Rate Case 101 webinar. Let's get into slideshow mode. Okay. Um, so we have a lot to cover today in just like a short time. But again, we'll be sending all of these materials to you afterwards so you can digest them then as well. Um, Obviously, there's this upcoming rate case for those of you that are in AEP territory. A lot of this content is going to be very timely and very relevant to what's going on in your service area, but it's also really good information, I think, for anyone to have, regardless of what service territory you're in. Understanding our energy system can be super complex, and we're trying to break it down so that you can kind of understand how it works, what a rate case is, and why you should care, and then how to get involved. So, with that being said, we are going to go through quick introductions today, and then we'll get into the meat of it, which is what is a rate case, who is AEP, what is solar net metering, and what are investor-owned utilities, something that's very relevant in West Virginia. How does a rate case hearing work? And how do you comment at a hearing? What really works and resonates? And then again, other ways that you can get involved in and speak out. Okay, so just a quick introduction in terms of who's here on our end. So we have lots of people here today. We have Jim Coatzen, Lisa Di Bartolomeo, and Honey May from Sierra Club, West Virginia. We also have Leah Turgeon from Solar United Neighbors. We have Sean Phillips from West Virginia Citizens Action Group. And then there's myself. I am Courtney MacDonald, and I am the Coalition Coordinator for West Virginians for Energy Freedom. Together, all of us that you're seeing here on the screen fall under the Coalition of West Virginians for Energy Freedom. So we work together to really try to pave a way towards a more just and equitable energy system for all in West Virginia. And that being said, that's not the entire coalition, but that's who's here today. And then quickly, we would love to hear from you. If you could just type in the chat your name, your location, what electricity company that you use and are under. And then if you want to share with us sort of why you came here today and what concerns you have, we would absolutely love that. Again, feel free to drop that in the chat and we'll give it about a minute there. And I should add, if anybody wants to come off mute and prefers to introduce themselves that way, feel free. That would be awesome. Joy Car. Hi, Joy. Awesome. Got Sean here. We've got Jillian. Hi, Jillian. Yeah, agree. Yep. Nicole, that's what we're hearing left and right. I'm sure you see it every day. People are just having a harder and harder time keeping up with the electricity rates, and there's no end in sight. So that's why we're really feeling like it's time. It has been time, but we have the opportunity to really speak up in AEP territory and really push back against these rate hikes. It's very important. Yeah, agree. That's our slogan, and it's so true. The rates are just too damn high. Okay, I'm gonna keep us moving because we do have a lot to cover, but thank you so much for introducing yourselves. Thank you for joining. I really hope that you leave here today with more tools and more information on what we collectively can do to push back on these rate hikes. Okay. So what is the Public Service Commission? So West Virginia lives under a monopolized energy system, so folks do not have the opportunity, like they do maybe in other states, to choose what utility they would like to get their electricity from. And that's why we in West Virginia have a Public Service Commission, which is supposed to really balance the interests of the public and the utility to make sure that we're getting treated fairly. And that being said, I do think that this video explains the Public Service Commission a little bit better than I can, so I'm gonna play this now. There should be an audio share, but if it goes on for a bit and you don't hear anything, maybe panelists just let me know, but I think we should be good.
Electricity powers our homes, our businesses, and our future. Did you know you can have a say in how much you pay for it? The West Virginia Public Service Commission, PSC, decides how much we pay for electricity. They regulate utilities like Appalachian Power and Mon Power to make sure rates are fair. But here's the problem. Big utility companies speak loudly about these decisions. Do you? When power companies ask for rate hikes, the PSC holds hearings. These meetings are one of the ways decisions are made if your electric bill will go up. Utilities show up with their lawyers, but we have advocates too, speaking for you in energy freedom. We need you to stand with them and help them win for all of us. Here's how you can take action. Speak at a public hearing. Submit a comment online. Join West Virginians for Energy Freedom and stand up for fair electricity rates. Electricity bills should be fair, not a burden. The power to make a difference is in your hands. Get involved today, because when West Virginians speak up, we win.
Okay, so I think that sort of covers what the Public Service Commission does or is responsible for. But if you guys have questions at the end, specific to this, definitely feel free to kind of sit on them for a little bit and we'll answer questions after we finish all the slides. With that, I believe I'm handing it off to my amazing colleague Sean to cover investor-owned utilities.
Hi, folks. I want to take a moment to thank you all so much for joining today. I see some familiar names, and I appreciate you all hopping on here. I do want to take a moment to apologize if you hear Lady Gaga in the background. I am in a cafe. I'm traveling home from DC today. So I'm just where the Wi-Fi is. But I want to take a moment to explain to you all what investor-owned utilities are and the kind of power system that we operate under. Courtney alluded to this just a moment ago, saying that we live in a monopoly, and that is true. An investor-owned utility is a private for-profit company that provides an essential service, such as electricity. This is different than other states. Other states, you have the option to purchase your electricity from a co-op. There are community solar options, and that is just not the case here in West Virginia. We only have 3 electricity companies, and that's Appalachian Power, Mon Power, and Potomac Edison. Wheeling Power operates under AEP, so we include it as the same. So Investor-owned utilities operate with the goal of maximizing shareholder return instead of providing affordable electricity to citizens. So, according to Wall Street Zen, which is a think tank, institutional ownership of AEP is estimated to be about 82%. The largest investor in Appalachian Power is BlackRock and Vanguard. And you can have your opinions about that in your own time. I know that I will. But of course, IOUs are operating with the goal of making money for those companies, not for creating affordable energy for us. These companies are regulated by a government entity. In our case, it's the Public Service Commission, which we just learned a little bit about. And anytime that they propose a rate hike, they have to go through the Public Service Commission. Courtney, can we go to the next slide? Because we're dealing with a rate hike in AEP territory, I just want to provide some facts and figures about AEP. AEP services 5.6 million people across the country. We are not the only state that AEP operates in. I believe there are 13. In West Virginia, they provide electricity to 74,000 people. So, very large chunk of our population. In 2024, AEP profited $9.7 billion. This is coming at a time where we're seeing unprecedented rate hikes in our state. The states around us are seeing unprecedented rate hikes, and they keep coming while AEP continues to profit off of our backs. So I just want to emphasize that there are other options for receiving power. We at this point just don't have the capability to tap into those other options. So that's a little bit on what a monopoly is. So I appreciate you all listening to me, and I think, Courtney, I'm throwing it back to you.
And I am passing the ball to Leah Turgeon from Solar United Neighbors, another amazing colleague of mine.
Awesome. Hello, everyone. Thanks to Courtney and Sean for getting our conversation set up. It's good to see you all, and I'm happy to be here with everybody. Okay, so we are going to dig in a little bit into, what a rate case is and how we can elevate our voices collectively to have a meaningful impact on the outcomes of these cases. So, just like generally speaking, they start with a filing. The utility will submit an application that includes their detailed financial data, investments, and operating costs, forecasts, all the things that kind of like go into rate making. In West Virginia, as of late, it's always coupled with a request for a rate increase. I think that there is, a kind of an anomaly situation where they may be requesting a decrease, but I haven't seen it since I've been working with Solar United Neighbors and co-intervening on these cases with our allies. The next phase is the review and discovery phase. And so all intervening parties will, just analyze the filing and submit any further documentation to kind of like embolden or reinforce their perspectives and or desired outcomes from the case. And then there's time for rebuttal and kind of the back and forth of things a little bit like, hey, you left this out, or this wasn't a complete thought, and here are some of the details that'll help to inform, the truth of what that actually is. And so we recently went through that with the companies in this current rate case on some of the issues, a lot of which relate to low and moderate income customers and the net metering tariff here in West Virginia. And I will say, while nothing is, complete or decided, the company is being pretty stubborn. And so all the more reason for us to be together and have this meeting and make sure that we show up to the public hearing and use every opportunity that we can to kind of bind together and try to make an impact on this case. So there's some information on this slide. I'm sure as I've been babbling, maybe you all have taken a look at it. But the company is essentially surprise requesting another rate hike, a significant one at that. And I think, in a climate where a lot of West Virginians are experiencing, an affordability crisis, and we're having to make hard decisions almost daily, if not monthly, on where we put our energy and attention and our finances. It's just crazy that they're asking for more money, and people just can't afford it. Um, they're asking for originally, I think it was like $24 a month, but now they're looking to spread it over 4 years. So essentially, the impact is still going to be what it is. It's just over a longer period of time. The commission can issue an order in any direction, right? So even though the company is proposing this securitization model where the costs are going to be drawn out over 4 years, that doesn't necessarily mean that that's the way that it's going to go. Um, and another thing that they have proposed is a pretty significant slash to the net metering credit here in West Virginia as well. And I think maybe we can dig into that on the next slide a little bit more.
Ever wonder what?
Oh, okay. So essentially, when there was a video, I think maybe we'll send these slides so you can watch the video that details net metering, but I'll just give kind of like a high level explanation of what it is for those who may not be familiar. Essentially, when you're a solar owner and you put more energy onto the grid than what you consume, the electric utility will give you a credit on your bill for for every kilowatt hour that you produce and that you don't consume. So for the last, like, I don't know, 10, maybe 15 years, I don't remember exactly how many years, we've had a 1-to-1 net metering ratio in West Virginia. So whatever you would produce as an extra kilowatt hour, you would get that full credit of what they're going to, essentially like sell that kilowatt hour to your neighbor who doesn't have solar for. So that was called the full residential retail credit. They're looking to slash that by 2/3. And also, if they slash that by 2/3 under the current rate structure, then that's what it looks like. The gap is going to get even bigger if they get an approval for their rate increase. So, potentially, that gap is even going to widen, meaning the company is looking to give
Ever
you a very, very low value for the energy that you produce and put back onto the grid. And so this is not a good thing for solar owner or for people who are looking to go solar. People who are currently solar owners will potentially get grandfathered in for the next 25 years, I believe it is, with the full retail 1-to-1. And then at that time, it'll change to whatever the current net metering credit is. Bottom line is that the rates are going up pretty much, pretty consistently. Solar is one way that people can take control of where their energy comes from and help to insulate them from these expanding costs. And now they're trying to undermine that too. And so really important that, from an energy freedom perspective, we should be able to produce our own power and get fairly credited for the production of that power. Okay. Another thing, what's actually on this slide, is that with that, we are inviting you to join us on June 17th. We have a rally in front of the Public Service Commission where we're going to gather at 5 p.m. with some signs and just to make our presence known. The hearing itself is going to start at 5:30, and we invite folks to come through and give testimony on that day. I will say that, in the public hearing, it's a fairly friendly environment in the way of like, you can go state your testimony, give your personal story about how these rates are affecting you, the people who you work with and for, as I saw in the comments, or also, your community at large. The commissioners are not going to like grill you or ask you questions. It's really an opportunity for the public to come and share, individual and also just like the collective perspective and tone about how these rate increases are landing in our communities in real time. Um, and so there are a few different options for attending. We're going to be in Charleston. As I said, please come at 5 o'clock if you plan to join us. It'd be great to have you at the rally. Um, and then also, if you live in the Northern Panhandle, our friends and colleagues are going to be at the Ohio County Public Library to do a remote viewing and also help folks through the process of giving testimony in that way too. And so we'd invite you to join us there. Um, I think we can move on to the next slide, please. And I'll just quickly chat through, um, like what kind of comments are most effective at the Public Service Commission. I think one thing that we have come to learn over time is that negative accountability or direct attacks on the commissioners are never well received. Even though the majority of West Virginians do not approve of the Public Service Commission, it's not particularly productive to tell the Public Service Commission that you don't approve of them. They tend to, um, just not be receptive to the messaging that follows when people express in that way. And so, but not to influence what anybody says, just wanted to let you know that that's been our experience. Please feel free to say and express however you want. Um, Also, other things that are, useful, I think, is if you're making your protest or testimony personal, I think it helps to give more insight into the experience that people are actually having when you use personal examples. Um, we're trying to add a human face to a statewide problem, right? So, also, you don't have to be an expert or be too technical. Honestly, just like the experience is enough to offer. I think one key fact that could be important that's like fairly easy to convey and remember, and I think that's impactful, is that AEP ratepayers have seen more than double of an increase over the last 15 years. And so that's just the truth, and it's a lot. I think, correct me if I'm wrong, Courtney or Sean, that will have like 2 or 3 minutes for each person on average.
Yeah, that's typically what they stick to. And again, we're hoping to get a big turnout. So you're better off sticking in that 2 to 3 minute mark.
Yep. And I think a good rule of thumb is that 1 minute is around 150 words or something like that. Just, if that's helpful. And then, definitely make sure that at the beginning of your testimony, the commissioners will ask you to kind of just state and spell your name for their records, and maybe even like highlight where you're from. That could be important as well. And I think that's it for me. I'm happy to answer any questions when the time comes. Again, appreciate y'all. Thank you.
Thank you, Leah. All right, so one last bit. As Leah mentioned, there's a lot going on, all under the hope of just making it easier for folks to participate in the AEP public hearing and rally. So we have some links here. If you take a look at that first link, the check out our resources, I'm going to share this all in the chat. Again, I'm going to share the slides as well after. But it goes through a lot of resources that we're providing and sign up links to join the public hearing. Make sure that you register ahead of time if you decide to speak virtually, whether you'll be in Wheeling or you'll be at your home. Both are totally fine. Um, there is buses that we are providing from Huntington and from Beckley to get you there to the rally and the public hearing in Charleston on June 17th as well. So definitely that link will get you there to sign up for that. Um, what else is there? There's also Solar United Neighbors, West Virginians for Energy Freedom. We're providing some virtual workshops leading up to the hearing for folks to get together and craft their testimony together, maybe to ask more questions if you're a little bit nervous about speaking at a public hearing and you haven't before. We have some folks that can provide some tips and help you to really refine your speech. Um, and I think that's it in terms of like what you can kind of sign up for. Of course, you can specify if you'd like to go to the rally or you'd like to speak at the public hearing. Maybe you'd like to do both, which would be awesome. But definitely check out that link. Sign up if you haven't already. Other things you can do, spread the word and share that to your with your neighbors and your friends to get more folks there. Again, the more people we get to speak out, the better chance we have in pushing back against this rate hike. And then yeah, just be sure again, if you are speaking at the public hearing virtually, you do have to sign up a day before. So June 16th by 4 p.m. in order to get on their list to speak. If you decide to speak in person in Charleston, no big deal. You can sign up ahead of time, but you can also sign up when you get there. So, like right before the hearing starts. I see one of my colleagues, Leah, thank you, shared it in the chat. So you should have access to all of those links. And I think that's basically all of what we had to cover. Um, so now we can move into questions. Two options. If you would like to come off mute, feel free to come off mute and ask a question. Otherwise, feel free to use the chat and we'll go through each. I'm gonna start. Yes, absolutely. That's a good point. If you're unable to attend virtually, if you're unable to attend in person, you can still submit comments to the PSC. That should also be included in the link that we shared in terms of the check out our resources, that every action link. Definitely the more comments we get to the PSC protesting the rate hike, the better. So that's another option. John, are there ongoing negotiations on the net metering rate, much as there were when Mon Power negotiated its net metering rate last year? For folks that aren't aware, a similar thing happened in terms of um, Mon Power looking to slash the net metering rate last year. So this is sort of rinse and repeat from that, but now in AEP territory. I see Leah, who is probably the expert here, raise her hand. So yeah, feel free to take that one, Leah.
Yep, I can do my best. I know, so the short answer is yes. And also, I will say that while nothing is final, we are not like those negotiations with the First Energy NEM case were primarily like took place during the settlement, and it doesn't look like we're heading in the direction of a settlement. And so I think that the public hearing is going to be especially important with regard to net metering. Hopefully, it will help to inform, the subsequent evidentiary hearing. Um, I will say that we have seen some of the numbers that they put out, and that staff is is has proposed a higher rate than what the company did, and so that's at least gives us a little bit of hope, but is also just like not really a solid predictor of which way this will all go. And so yeah, all the more reason why we all need to, really show up and make sure that we're advocating for a fair value of solar. Sorry if that was a little cryptic. It's just so hard to tell, but I think the biggest thing is that we really don't feel like we're heading in the direction of a settlement. And I think that's kind of like the promised land for negotiations and like what kind of gave us the leverage to get a good NEM credit in Mon Power last time.
Thank you, Leah. I saw a question from Christina, but I answered in the chat, but I also want to answer here. Yes, so we are providing buses from Beckley and from Huntington to the hearing and then back to Beckley and Huntington. You can sign up to join those buses. And the reason you have to sign up is because we'll be providing more information on the pickup, and just logistics closer to the event. So it's ideal that you sign up and get that information via email. But you can sign up using that link that we're sort of floating around. It's in the chat right now. Again, it's that every action link that kind of covers everything. I know there's like a lot of questions and criteria, but we're just trying to get as much information as possible to help the most amount of people as possible. So, if you're interested in signing up for the bus, feel free to click on that link and do so. And then let's see. And then a question from Joy. How responsive generally are companies to public comment slash pushback? Does this work? I guess is what I'm asking. I'm wondering if any of my colleagues that have been in this game a little bit longer have seen a time where um, utility companies really responded to the public comment and pushback. I feel like it's more in the hands of the commission knowing sort of where we stand. Leah.
Yeah, I was gonna say the same thing. I feel like as far as having an effect on the companies, probably little to none, but with regard to the commissioners who are essentially the final decision makers, I think, we saw with the Pleasance Power Station bailout, maybe like 10 years ago or something like that. That was a big win. And I think that there was, it was a reflection of a lot of public participation and continued action and just kind of like us not taking our foot off the gas. And, the public was really engaged and I think it was meaningful. I'll also say that there are more comments in protest of this case than I think ever before in a rate case. I don't know like the extended timeline, but definitely in the, 4 years that I've been co-intervening in these cases, we've never seen this many comments. So I think it's meaningful.
Yeah, I'd love to give the number. I'm not sure if it's gonna shift into a different tab. If I click on this, Leah, can you still see the slides?
Nope, we can see your tab.
Okay, well, either way, I have um real quick 3,900 letters of protest have been sent for this case specifically. So it's a lot. A lot of people are not thrilled about this. A lot of people can't afford their bills. So, any other questions? I'll give it a couple minutes to see if any more come through the chat.
I'll hop on and just again express appreciation for all of you joining our webinar today and speaking out against this rate hike. I know a lot of you are champions in your communities and people listen to the people who raise their voice. So I just appreciate all of you. And what do we anticipate the effects of the light heat cuts will be? Pretty significant. I don't have any figures available right now. But we hope that the cuts to LIHEAP on a national level don't affect us in West Virginia as much. You guys may have followed the House Bill 2014, the data center and microgrid bill. One of the line items in that bill is the revenue from those data centers. As much as we do not support them, that revenue is supposed to go to LIHEAP programs. So there are protections built in, but our senators and representatives have not directly stated that LIHEAP will be cut in West Virginia.
Thank you, Sean. Any other questions? Okay, counted to 5 Mississippi, which is typically a good rule of thumb. I do want to say, I want to echo what Sean said. Thank you so much for joining and for putting in the work, taking action to push back. Um, if there's anything we can do to assist you and make it easier for you to join the public hearing, craft your speech, anything else, definitely feel free to reach out afterward. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out. My email, I'm going to throw it in the chat, is Courtney at energyfreedomwv.org. I will be the one sending the slides to you afterward and the links to the different resources. So you can also just reply back to that email. But thank you so much for my fellow panelists and thank you guys for joining. Really appreciate it. Let's keep on pushing against AEP and all of the rate hikes across all of the utilities. Thank you, and hopefully we talk soon.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye, everybody.
Bye, everyone.